Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever wondered why some prayers echo for years yet never seem to break through? Have you ever asked yourself, God, what's holding it back? You've done everything right. You've fasted, you've prayed, you've believed, but still, something seems to stand in the way. Let me tell you today, blessings don't just flow because you ask for them. They flow when you are positioned for them. And sometimes what's blocking your blessing isn't the devil. It's something hiding inside you. Today, we're going to uncover what no one told you. The unseen barriers between you and the life heaven has already prepared. There are invisible walls between you and your blessing. You can't see them, you can't touch them, but you can feel them. Every time you move forward, something pulls you back. Every time you think this is the season, something shifts and the door closes again. And you start to wonder, what is happening? Why does it feel like I'm so close, yet still so far? My friend, sometimes it's not that your blessing is denied, it's that it's being blocked by walls you never knew existed. These walls are not made of bricks, they're made of beliefs. They're not physical, they're internal. They rise from fear, from doubt, from offense, from pride, from unhealed wounds that we pretend are gone, but still whisper in our hearts. And those whispers, they build walls. They whisper, you're not ready, you're not worthy, you failed before. And without realizing it, you start living inside those walls, praying for blessings that can't reach you because your own heart has shut the gate. You see, God can pour, but if the vessel is cracked, the blessing leaks. He can open the windows of heaven, but if your spirit is cluttered with old hurt, that rain won't settle. It'll run right off. Sometimes you're asking for overflow, but heaven is waiting for you to clear the blockage first. And until you do, every opportunity, every open door will slip through the cracks of your preparation. That's why some people keep circling the same mountain year after year. They're gifted, talented, anointed, but the walls are still standing. The wall of comparison, the wall of bitterness, the wall of self-pity. And here's the truth. As long as those walls remain, your blessing can see you, but it cannot reach you. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to step into favor so easily while others struggle for decades? It's not luck. It's not favoritism. It's positioning. The difference between blockage and breakthrough is not in God's ability, it's in your alignment. When you break down those invisible walls, the flow begins again. You don't have to chase blessings, blessings start chasing you. But here's where most people miss it. They pray for the blessing, not the breaking. They ask for increase, but resist the process that clears the way. Yet the breaking is the blessing in disguise, because every wall that falls reveals another layer of who you really are, the person ready to carry the weight of divine favor. So, before you ask God to release what's yours, ask Him to remove what's in you that keeps rejecting it. Because your next level is not waiting on heaven, heaven is waiting on you. The moment you confront those invisible walls, the flow begins to move again. And when you finally break through that first wall, you'll discover something even more shocking sometimes. The next barrier isn't outside of you at all. It's inside what you've been protecting the most. When heaven is ready, but you're not, things begin to shift in ways you don't understand. You pray, you fast, you declare, and yet nothing seems to move. And the question that echoes deep inside your spirit is, God, why are you so silent when I'm so desperate? But hear this, silence does not cancel, it means absence. Delay does not mean denial. Sometimes heaven has already prepared your blessing, but you are still in preparation for it. You see, timing is everything in the kingdom. God doesn't just release blessings, He releases them into readiness. Because a blessing out of season becomes a burden. What good is a promise if you don't have the capacity to sustain it? What good is a table if you don't yet know how to sit at it? Sometimes God withholds, not because you're unworthy, but because you're unready. And readiness is not about effort, it's about alignment. You can be praying the right prayer with the wrong heart. You can be positioned in the right place, but carrying the wrong mindset. You can have the dream, but still lack the discipline to protect it once it manifests. So heaven waits, not because it's late, but because it's wise. There are things God wants to give you that require a different version of you, a version that has been processed, stretched, refined, and matured. A version that can handle criticism without quitting, that can handle elevation without arrogance, that can handle success without self-destruction. Because a blessing in the hands of the unprepared becomes a weapon against their own destiny. So, when heaven is ready but you're not, God doesn't cancel your promise. He develops your character. He lets certain doors stay closed to protect you from what's on the other side. He hides you in obscurity, not to punish you, but to preserve you. Because premature exposure destroys what maturity would have sustained. You're asking for visibility, but God is giving you stability first. You want recognition, but He's building revelation. And here's the hard truth. You can't rush divine timing. You can accelerate your obedience, yes, but you cannot manipulate heaven's schedule. There's a season where your name is being mentioned in rooms you've never entered, but heaven won't let them call you until you're strong enough to stay there, until the pressure of purpose doesn't crush your preparation. So if it feels like heaven is quiet, don't panic. Heaven's silence is often a signal that construction is happening behind the scenes. And when the time comes, everything that was held back will be released at once, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. But before that release comes, there's another reality we must face. Because sometimes, even when heaven is ready and you think you're ready, there's something deeper, something hidden that still stands in the way. And that's when good intentions start blocking divine favor. How can something that feels so right still block your blessing? How can good intentions, pure motives, sincere efforts still stand in the way of divine favor? It sounds unfair, doesn't it? But the truth is, not everything that looks good to you is aligned with what's right for you. Sometimes, the greatest obstacle to God's plan is not evil, it's your version of good. You see, many people miss their breakthrough not because of rebellion, but because of reasoning. We convince ourselves that our plan makes sense. We tell ourselves, surely this must be what God wants. But heaven doesn't move by emotion, it moves by obedience. And sometimes obedience means letting go of what seems good to make room for what is God. You can have a good heart and still be out of order. You can be doing good things in the wrong season. You can be helping people God told you to walk away from. You can be building what God already tore down. And because it feels noble, you don't recognize that it's disobedience disguised as compassion. That's how good intentions become divine interruptions. Think about it. There are people praying for clarity while holding on to something God already said no to. There are relationships we maintain out of guilt, positions we keep out of pride, responsibilities we carry because we think we're needed. But sometimes what you're holding on to is what's holding you back. Your blessing can't move until your hands are free. You see, the danger of good intentions is that they create comfort zones. And comfort zones feel safe, but they suffocate destiny. They convince you that your effort equals approval, when in reality, God never asked for your effort. He asked for your obedience. There's a difference. Effort says, I'm trying my best. Obedience says, I'll do what you said, even if it doesn't make sense. And that's where favor flows in surrender, not struggle. That's why some people work hard but see no results. They pray faithfully but still feel resistance, because they're busy doing what's good instead of what's required. God is not impressed by your motion. He's moved by your submission. When you surrender your version of good, He replaces it with His version of great. So maybe, just maybe, the thing blocking your blessing isn't your lack of effort. It's your unwillingness to release control. The moment you stop trying to manage what God is meant to master, doors begin to open effortlessly. Because blessings don't chase control, they chase alignment. And once you understand that, once you release what seemed good but wasn't God, you begin to see favor flow in unexpected ways. But here's the twist. Even after obedience comes, even after alignment returns, there's still another enemy waiting quietly in the shadows, one that's harder to detect and far more dangerous than disobedience itself. It's the silent enemy of your breakthrough, and it hides in plain sight. There's a kind of enemy that doesn't shout. It whispers. It doesn't come dressed in darkness. It hides in your thoughts, in your emotions, in your habits. It's the silent enemy of your breakthrough, the one that smiles while it sabotages, the one that convinces you everything's fine while your destiny quietly drifts away. And the danger of this enemy is that you don't see it coming until it's already built a home inside your heart. You see, not every enemy is external. Some of the greatest battles are fought in silence, within the walls of your own mind. Bitterness, offense, jealousy, fear, pride, they don't announce themselves. They creep in slowly, disguising themselves as protection. You say, I'm just being careful, when really you're being cold. You say, I'm over it, when deep down you're still bleeding. You smile in public, but your spirit is still bound in private. That's the silent enemy, the one that hides behind your strength. It's easy to cast out demons you can name. It's harder to confront the ones you've learned to live with. Some of us have carried bitterness for so long that we've mistaken it for personality. We say, that's just who I am. No, that's who pain has made you become. And as long as you protect that pain, you protect your prison. You can't receive peace while guarding what broke you. You see, the silent enemy doesn't always fight your faith sometimes. It fights your focus. It distracts you, drains you, and deceives you into thinking you're making progress when you're actually walking in circles. Have you ever felt tired, not because of what's happening around you, but because of what's still happening inside you? That's the evidence. You're wrestling with what you refuse to release. And here's the truth. God cannot bless who you pretend to be. He can only heal what you're willing to expose. The silent enemy thrives in secrecy. That's why breakthrough doesn't come through pretending everything's fine. It comes through surrendering what isn't. When you finally confront the quiet chaos within, you remove the enemy's power over your destiny. Sometimes the enemy doesn't attack your purpose directly. He attacks your peace. Because if he can steal your peace, he can silence your progress. If he can fill your heart with offense, he can block your discernment. You can't hear divine direction through the noise of inner resentment. That's why forgiveness isn't just about freeing others, it's about freeing you from the grip of the silent enemy. So I'll ask you, what's living silently inside you that's keeping heaven from speaking loudly to you? Because until you confront it, you'll keep mistaking emotional noise for divine silence. And when you finally break free from that inner battle, when the silent enemies lose their hold, you'll begin to see clearly again. But clarity brings its own test. Because sometimes when the walls fall and the silence breaks, what you see next isn't what you expected. It's the moment when heaven waits, not to bless you instantly, but to measure if you're truly ready for what comes next. Why does God wait when you think you're ready? Why does heaven seem silent right when your faith is loudest? It's one of life's greatest frustrations, knowing you've prepared, prayed, positioned yourself, and still nothing moves. You look around and see others stepping into their season, doors opening for them while yours remain closed. And you start to wonder, Lord, did I miss something? Did I do something wrong? But the truth is, sometimes God waits, not because you're unworthy, but because He's measuring your maturity. He's watching how you handle the waiting, because waiting reveals what working cannot. Waiting exposes your motives, your patience, your trust. Anybody can worship when blessings are flowing, but can you still praise when heaven is quiet? Can you still trust when there's no sign, no movement, no confirmation? That's where the real test begins. Because waiting seasons are not punishment, they're preparation. You see, God delays certain doors because He wants to see if you'll remain faithful when favor feels far away. He wants to see if your obedience depends on reward or relationship. If your love for Him is rooted in what He gives or in who He is. That's why divine waiting rooms feel heavy, because they strip away every false motive until only truth remains. And here's what most people miss. God doesn't wait because He's figuring you out. He already knows you. He waits so you can discover what's still in you. You think you're ready for the promise, but are you ready for the pressure that comes with it? Everyone wants the blessing, but few are prepared for the responsibility attached to it. That's why God doesn't just open doors. He strengthens shoulders. He builds endurance, patience, humility, and perspective, so that when the blessing comes, it doesn't crush you. Sometimes heaven's delay is divine protection, because the moment you step into promise prematurely, you invite warfare you're not equipped to handle. So God hides you, not because He forgot you, but because He loves you too much to expose you too soon. He's saying, you're close, but not yet. And that not yet isn't rejection, it's refinement. Waiting seasons teach you to depend on the unseen. They build a kind of faith that doesn't need proof, a peace that doesn't need results. That's when heaven knows you're ready, when the promise no longer defines your praise, when you can say, even if it doesn't come, I'll still trust you. That's maturity. That's readiness. That's when God says, now. But here's the mystery sometimes. After all the waiting, after all the praying and trusting, you finally reach the point of release, the moment heaven opens the window. Yet even then, not everything unfolds the way you expect. Because there's one more truth waiting to be revealed. Your blessing was never delayed. It was being protected. The blessing is not delayed, it's being protected. Sometimes what looks like a setback is really heaven's security system in operation. You think God is holding something back from you, but in truth, He's holding something for you. Because not every delay is denial. Some delays are divine defense. Some pauses are protection from what your eyes cannot yet see. Have you ever prayed for something and later thanked God He didn't give it to you when you asked? That's because His timing is not just perfect, it's protective. God sees what you don't. He knows the weight of the blessing and the weakness of the moment. And sometimes He hides your promise until your foundation is strong enough to hold it. You see, every blessing carries a burden. Every elevation carries exposure. And if you rise before you're rooted, the very thing meant to bless you can break you. So heaven guards your blessing like a treasure, not to punish you, but to preserve you. You're asking, Lord, where is it? And heaven is answering, it's ready, but I'm shielding it from what could destroy it. That's why some doors don't open when you knock. Some opportunities don't call back. Some people walk away because God knows what you don't, that premature access leads to permanent damage. He'd rather let you cry in waiting than watch you crumble in winning. He'd rather you be delayed for a season than destroyed in a moment. That's love disguised as delay. Sometimes protection looks like frustration. You feel stuck, forgotten, overlooked, but heaven is busy building fences around your future. While you see delay, God sees danger. While you see silence, God is speaking on your behalf in places you can't enter yet. While you think He's withholding, He's actually orchestrating. What's yours cannot be lost, but it can be delayed until it's safe to deliver. So when it feels like the blessing is far away, remember it's closer than you think, just not exposed yet. It's maturing in the dark, developing in secret, waiting for the moment. Heaven says, now it's safe. Now it's time. Because when the appointed time comes, what was once hidden will suddenly be revealed. The people who doubted you will witness what protection was preparing. And you'll realize God didn't forget you. He was guarding your destiny. So hold on. Don't curse the delay. Don't rush the process. The waiting is not wasted. The silence is not empty. The pause is not punishment, it's preparation. For when the blessing finally arrives, it won't just fit your life, it will fulfill it. Because the blessing was never denied. It was never lost. It was never gone. It was being covered, being shielded, being perfected until the day heaven decides it's safe to let it shine.